right, so this is starting a new sub-part within the whole classes called the Body of Christ, Part 3. But the first class of this little part is the least of these. We spent the last few weeks talking about a change in mindset primarily. I really liked the way John was using the whiteboard. I would do that too, except nobody would be able to read anything. So I stick with making PowerPoints. So just to be kind of transparent to start, I struggled really bad with this class. I don't really know what it was. Maybe it was a headspace. Maybe it was, there was a couple times preparing this class, I had to get up and leave and just walk around and be like, what is even being said right now? So I struggled with this class a little bit. But aside from that, I think I managed to pull out some things that I felt were important, that I think were worth spending some time talking about. But yeah, just to be very bold-faced, this is something I, for some reason, really struggle with. I don't know why. So the chapter is titled, or I guess the lesson is titled, "The Least of These," or "To the Least of These." So I want to start off with a couple questions to get it rolling. Might not make much sense, but many of you ever met a celebrity or met somebody who is related to a celebrity or something? If so, what was that like? You could totally share. Totally share if you have a moment worth mentioning. Yeah.
When I was a kid, so in Arizona, we had a TV show. Remember this? Wallace and Ladmo show. And it was just two guys, and they had several characters. They did like Sesame Street, but nothing but adults and like sketch comedy kind of
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And it was a kid show. And longest running kid show. Anyways, it started out in black and white, and then it was still on when I was a kid. And the whole thing was, when you were a kid, you got to, they would have contests, and they would say, hey, you can send in your drawing submissions of like
Yeah.
Christmas picture or something
Yeah.
like that. And so I did. I sent in a
Oh.
drawing I did of a Christmas tree with Christmas lights on it. Got in there, and sure enough, they called me, my parents, and they were like, we'd love to have your kids down here. And
Oh, that's
so
crazy.
they would have kids on the show, and you'd be in the studio audience and all this stuff. And then during the show, they would come and bring you a Ladmo bag.
That's awesome.
The cameras towards the. You got a Ladmo bag? I got 2 Ladmo bags.
That's awesome.
I never got a Ladmo. So I got to meet the celebrities Wallace and Ladmo as a kid.
That's so cool.
None of you know what that means, but
I don't, but that's awesome. I have no idea what that means, but that rules. That's awesome. Man, I don't know how you top that. I don't know how you top that. That's like, anybody else though? Anybody else ever have it? Yeah, Lauren.
Well, 3 years back, I was at a downtown rally, and I don't know if this counts, but I did met this YouTube celebrity called Grant Thumb. I don't know if you heard about him, but he does stuff that has to do with military weapons and stuff, and he does things online.
That's crazy.
And of course, I met him, and his real name is Abby Mike Jones, and he's at the U.S. Air Force veteran in the Special Forces. So it's definitely cool to meet a celebrity who had a military background.
Yeah, YouTubers, man.
Again, as I said, I don't know if that counts, but sure.
No, dude, YouTubers. They're big time these days.
Yeah.
Anybody? Yeah.
So going back to Arizona, Barry Goldwater, you may have heard of him at one time or another. I managed Radio Shack stores all over.
Oh, yeah.
Down there, and he was one of my customers. Almost threw an antenna on him.
Cool.
On the roof, he was walking out.
Very nice.
And Alice Cooper.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Fournier used to come in all the time, so I've seen a lot of them.
That's crazy.
My experience was you just get nervous,
Yeah.
Until you get to know them, and then it's like.
Yeah.
They're just people.
Maybe one more. Yes.
Just to say, I don't watch these movies anymore, but Missy Pyle, who made, if anybody saw Dodgeball, and played what, Fran, whatever, when she's on, and she was in a Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Anyway, I met her at the Burbank Airport. Very sweet.
Wow.
And she didn't even know that she's, anyway, but very nice.
Yeah.
And she lives in Montana, but
That's cool.
yeah. So anyway, it's fun.
I don't know. Many of you will not know who this is, but Chris and I were at Disneyland not long ago, and we were. I had no idea we were on a ride with this person the whole time, but I didn't recognize them until we walked by this person later. I got to say hello to every time I tell the story. I think my interaction gets longer. Sooner or later, I'm going to be having a whole conversation with this guy, but I managed to say hi, and this person managed to say hi back. I crossed paths with the current creative director of Star Wars, Dave Filoni, which was pretty wild. I probably done that? Yeah. So I mean Carissa could tell anybody. I was like, just yeah.
Did you ask him what he was thinking when he made the last joke?
I don't think he had any hand in that, but no, it was something where, and because he usually wears this big black cowboy hat. That's what he's known for, and he wasn't wearing the hat, so I had no idea who he was until Chris was like, yeah, he was sitting in front of us the whole entire time, and I was like, are you kidding me? So my next, if so, what was that like? And we seem to all arrive at the same idea that it's a cool experience to meet somebody famous, or to say hello for a split second to somebody famous, or just to be around somebody who's famous. Why do we react that way around these types of people? Why do we do that? I mean, it's probably a super simple response, but why? Well, duh, because they're famous, but what else?
Because you hold them in high esteem.
Right.
It's an experience that not everybody gets to have.
Mm-hmm. Super special.
You're unsure what kind of response you're going to get.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like they're getting your few seconds of fame as well.
Sure. You may not know this about me, but I do a lot of work for kind of a subsection of the music scene. Like I do work for some bands that tour, and I'll do work for them. I'll make shirts for them or whatever. And I've been able to have some pretty cool experiences with bands that I've listened to since I was in high school or middle school even, and then be able to meet them backstage and hang out with them or whatever just because I've done work for them. So that kind of a thing too. It's like, what is happening? This is wild, right? Anybody else? Yeah.
They do it for entertainment, to entertain the
Yeah.
audience. And now what inspired them to do the same like they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like carrying on the torch, for example.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe equate fame with greatness or.
So that's a good segue into kind of what I want to ask next is this inherently a bad thing? Or is it a good thing, or is it not really either? The way we feel, the way we act around, the way we think about these famous people, these celebrities. Is it a bad thing, or is it a good thing, or?
Natural.
Yeah.
Depends on the level.
Depends on the level.
Like when you think about it, it's really almost ridiculous. Because all of a sudden you could be on TV, on some program, and you become famous.
Right.
But you're no different than, so why this happens? I mean, we did a commercial for our business, and people were going, oh, I saw you.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't really I don't like to look at myself and all that stuff.
You're like a star now.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was like, that's the reaction I got. But I'm no different than anyone, so why do we?
Okay.
Why do we do that, right?
That's a great that question that you posed. Why do we do that? You're kind of answering the question with a question, but that's good. So the first point that I want to talk about is what the class break to see and be seen. Sometimes I think Christians can get caught up in this. Okay, I'm about to say some things that I'm worried you guys will just start throwing tomatoes at me, so I'm going to kind of just break this down. Okay, I feel like there's sometimes two thought processes when it comes to this idea. There's a personal comfort in associating with believers of a certain status. Makes us feel good. There's also an approval we may perceive from others when we associate with believers of a certain status. Okay, put down your tomatoes. Hold on, let me explain. I was looking at this part of the class and was thinking I was getting some sort of meaning from this. And the first thing I thought of was lectureship speakers. Okay, there is a certain type of feeling that I know I get when lectureship speakers. I love the idea of these people who are so well known in the church and I get to go up to them and say hi, and they say hi back. I'm like, I remember you. There's a cool, good feeling I get from that. But I also sometimes really like the idea that people see me having that interaction with other people who are really well known. Hold on, don't throw anything. Let me say this, though, that any status we give a fellow Christian is entirely our doing. And that's the issue I kind of want to spend some time thinking about just for a little. When this happens, we fail to see ourselves and our fellow Christians as Jesus does. Okay. Questions, comments? Anything you want me to explain a little further? Am I way off base? Questions? Yeah.
I had a similar experience now going back to the celebrity thing.
Yeah.
And in Dallas Cooper, I think Dallas Cooper went to North Phoenix Baptist Church. That's where I was baptized at age 8.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge congregation. Like, I mean, probably twice as big as 10 Mile.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of people would go there. And you'd see the preacher, and he'd be up there doing his thing. And then there was the baptismal was way up high, so everybody could see and everything.
Yeah.
He'd go up there and baptize people. I just thought that was so cool. And then to be baptized eventually by that guy, I'm like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
You're the guy I see from the crowd. This is
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make you feel like you've got now a connection with that important
Yeah.
person in the church, and it makes you feel kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's not like you're having good feelings about, like, it's not like a terrible person that we're feeling good about associating with. I'm not, and so, and it's, and this is where I was struggling writing this. I'm like, is this really the point of what this author's saying? And I think partly because I do think that this is something that I've felt myself feeling before. Like, am I? Again, I'm using the idea of lectureship speakers. This is the first thing that came to my head. There are these well-known, really accomplished people with great skills in speaking, and there's this kind of cool thing about them in a way, like they're headlining a concert or something when they come and speak for us, and I find myself wanting to go talk to them. But then sometimes, why though? Again, no offense to any of our lecturers here, but I'm like, what is the reason I want to talk to them? Is it because they just went up and did a cool thing in front of this crowd of people? Is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so as well. I think that's definitely a part of it. Anything else? And so I guess I want to ask this question again. Is this a bad thing? Like, if you've caught yourself feeling this way, maybe you haven't. Maybe it's not even something you've ever thought of. Is this a bad thing? Or is this a good thing? Is this I don't know. What? Yeah.
It's not a bad thing if you respect them so much and you want to talk to them, but if you're doing it because it's like, look, this guy's talking to me, everybody's sleeping.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Look at this famous preacher I know. Right. Yeah.
I think it would be bad is if you let it go to your head, because we're always supposed to consider ourselves.
Right. And then there's this thing, if you grow a little further beyond the churches of Christ, if you grow further, you see on social media, there's these super famous preachers, that dress in these really nice clothes, or try to just look all like they run a nice coffee shop or something, and they walk around, the classic youth pastor look, and they preach these lessons in front of gobs of people, and they have these social media following, and they have these podcasts or these YouTube channels. And to me, I don't know, I feel like that's just absolute idol worship. Like, you care more about the status of this guy or of this person up doing the thing rather than the message they're actually saying. And that's just something to me that's another thing I thought about when preparing this lesson, to see and be seen. Like, we love to associate with these people because of a status that that we give them. You see, is this making sense so far? Is this making sense? Yeah.
How about being really tall and feel that way?
Well, yeah,
Tall,
yeah.
tall.
You could know.
To be like that person, to follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
I agree. All
Great song.
There was what?
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Anyway, and a lot of other people, how they have just changed and
Yeah.
become more corrupt. It's like, I wouldn't want to, that, but what I'm saying is that, yeah, that idolizing,
Right.
but I get what you're saying. It's like higher income or something, yeah, you want to, yeah, I know, I get
And it's
exactly what you're saying.
and it's not an indictment on those people, and not even remotely. It's how we interact with them. What's our motivation in interacting with people that have a certain status that maybe they didn't ask for? We just gave them. Is this making sense? Again, I don't want to be stepping on toes, but yeah.
It's also like, are you seeking approval?
Yes.
By them, or
Yeah.
seeing you doing it rather than approval?
That's my kind of second train of thought here. There's the personal comfort we feel by that association, but then there's also the approval that we think we're getting from others, that we perceive we're getting from others. Like I don't know. I can remember someone that I had like like an inside joke with or something, some sort of person of status in the church. And it was fun to have that. Me seeing, I imagined others seeing me joke around with this person, like, oh, that's cool. He has a relationship with that guy. That's awesome. But again, it's about the motivation, okay? And again, this is just something that I thought the chapter was kind of getting at, this to see and be seen idea. It's all about motivation. What are we wanting to get out of our interactions with fellow Christians? And I think this goes now to this idea, seeing through different lenses, okay? When we look at ourselves and at each other, we need to adopt a more Christ-centered mindset. When I look at myself, like, again, the title of this class, no longer I, but Christ. When I look at my fellow Christians, no longer you, but Christ. Any man-made status is then torn down. Any status I could give myself, any status I could give somebody else, that is gotten rid of completely when I choose to say not you, not anything you've done, not any of your accomplishments, not how cool you seem, but it's no longer you, but Christ. Any questions? Any comments before I move on? Actually, first let me do this. Let me read 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. You don't necessarily have to turn there. I'll read it really quick. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 says, "But you are not like that, for you are a chosen people, you are royal priests, a holy nation, God's own, very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of the darkness into his wonderful light." That's the perception we need. Any questions? Any comments? Yeah.
I think this is like more relatable than we might think to like the New Testament, and I think like Jesus dealt with this a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Within like the Jewish community, where people would kind of align themselves to rabbis,
Right.
and then they'd be like, oh, I follow this guy,
Yes.
I follow this guy, and like kind of that same idea where they kind of make these guys famous, and then it got to a point where then Jesus was kind of dealing with and interacting with some of these guys like Nicodemus, and
Mm-hmm.
having to kind of subvert this whole thing as well, and show them how kind of opposite they were. And I think that's a little bit of what Peter's talking about here too. In that
Right.
verse that you read.
And there's a danger in that, I think, because if you could align yourself or follow after or whatever, some person, some YouTube preacher or some, podcast haver, and then like just really align with what they think, and then turns out they're not a good person, or turns out, I don't know, any number of things, and then your whole world crumbles. And it's just like, it's the danger, I think, of elevating people, not because they're terrible. It's just that's not how we're supposed to be looked. Yeah.
Well, I think Linda kind of touched on this a minute ago, but you think of how Paul was with wherever that is, 1 Corinthians 1 or 2, where he's like, some of you say you're Apollos, some say you're
Yeah.
Cephas, and then he goes on to say, I'm glad I didn't baptize any of you, because you're losing the focus, and I mean, so it's an age-old thing that you get this attachment to an individual, and you forget, the whole no longer I, but it's Christ now, and it's not that person either.
Yeah, because I also really like the you look at yourself, no longer I but Christ. That'll change how you see yourself, but it's also no longer you but Christ. Like, and I don't know. I also want to say this. Like, if there's another Christian that we run that is accomplished and is a great speaker and is a powerful evangelist and is a world traveler and is all these different things, it doesn't mean like you treat them bad now. That's not what I'm saying. It's tempering your expectations because they are, number one, a person. They're not Jesus. They are just as sinful as you are. And they happen to just have more experiences maybe than you or something. Like, yeah.
I think what we have to remember is we shouldn't be looking at the person.
Yes.
We should be looking at the message that they're bringing. In Romans 3:3, he's talking about the Jews having the word from God, but they didn't uphold it correctly.
Right.
So it says, what if some were unfaithful? Does their faithfulness nullify the faithfulness of God? By no means. So it doesn't matter what other people
Yeah.
are doing, even if they fail you. You can't be. There's a lot of people that fall away from the church because somebody they put up on a pedestal
Right.
like this falls.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't do that.
No.
We're all flawed people, and it could be just as well we're up there.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you can't falsely do that with people because people mess up all the time. So, again, this is the meaning that I was getting from this chapter. Something I thought was important to talk about. But this is where it gets tricky because there needs to be a balance, okay? We need to see each other as fellow heirs to God's kingdom, which is very important. There is, I don't want to say a status to that, but there's an importance. There's a special connection, I guess, there. So that'll affect how you see your fellow Christians. If you look at any number of your fellow Christians and see them also as an heir to the kingdom, a saint, a member of this royal priesthood, that's a big thing. That's a very important, special thing. And if I look at any one of you and realize that as well, that does kind of, again, I don't want to say elevate, but it's this really special idea. But what if you don't like me? Like, what if on a very human level, you don't like me? I don't know if I should follow up question. What then? Like, I'm challenging you right now. But, like, what if, though? Like, how do personal pasts, feelings, and experiences sometimes affect our lens? You can do it in one way. This person's so cool. They traveled to 97 countries and have baptized 9,000 people. They're so cool. But how can sometimes other personal past feelings and experiences affect our lens? Maybe that question makes no sense. Yeah.
I think sometimes we put expectations on your walk with Christ, the celebrity that you want to be.
Right.
And unfortunately that expectation isn't met.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're just very angry.
Right.
Don't like that person anymore. Or the preacher, you have an expectation on the preacher and then they're not it. So then you're like, well, I'm out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, I can be aware that we're all heirs to God's kingdom and we're saved and we're chosen, this chosen people by God. But, like, you may have a weird voice and that annoys me. Or, like, you may have, like, said something mean about my shirt and then I am kind of, I mean, not really, yeah, that kind of hurt a little bit. No, or maybe somebody says something off-putting to you and then you don't like them. That's going to affect your lens sometimes. That's going to affect how you think about somebody else. Like, I mean, and look, we need to see each other as fallible people because that's realistic. But we also need to be thinking about who we really are because of Jesus. And that's hard to do sometimes because, like I'm saying, you could say something mean about my shirt or about my shoes or about my hair. Please don't. Please, that'll make me sad. But then that could affect the way I see you, who you really are through Christ. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any other comments, questions?
Well, you look at the conflict Paul had with John Mark, and that
Oh, yeah.
he said he's not going to come with us. But then later you see him say, "I need that guy to meet me, years later." Or whatever.
Something happened.
Yeah. So I mean, there's going to be conflicts, and there's going to be things that cloud our lens about each other. But at some point, we got to get through that.
Right. So somebody read for me 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 16 through 17. This kind of grows off what we've been talking about. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 16 through 17. Hold on. Let me consult my book here. Make sure I totally didn't write down the wrong thing, which I probably did. Did I mean something else? Probably. Hey, yep, I forgot to move over one little inch on the keyboard and hit 2. So 2 Corinthians 5, 16 through 17.
So we have stopped evaluating others from a human point of view. At one time we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view, how differently we know him now. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, the new life has begun.
Questions about that? Questions about that verse or comments about that verse as how it relates to what we've been talking about? I mean, it puts it pretty nicely. I mean, it really does put it really simply. Thanks, Adam, by the way, for reading that. I'm going to just touch at some point. At one time, we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view, how differently we know him now. And this means anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life has gone, a new life has begun. Once we put things into perspective as how we're supposed to, it changes everything. It changes how we view our fellow Christians. It's supposed to. Yeah.
This would be my last comment.
No, keep them coming. I love the comments. It helps me.
I think this talks to how we're supposed to give grace to each other.
Mm-hmm.
When we have someone at some point was caught up in some sin, or you might know somebody who lived a life that was, sinful, and now they've come to Christ.
Yeah.
And now they're your brother or sister in Christ. Now they are the co-heir with you.
Right.
And we should never hold people's past against them. This is telling me that when they are a brand new creation, that means it has started over for them. And they're trying their hardest to forget about their past,
Right.
and not let that hold them back. We shouldn't keep our thumb on people,
Right.
and not let them, elevate to, maybe even different positions in the church.
Right.
Depending on the situation and circumstances. But, we tend to be very judgmental people.
Yes.
I know I do.
Yeah.
And I look at people and go, oh, yeah, but
Yeah.
you're a Christian, but
I don't know. Yeah.
but my goodness, look at me
Mm-hmm.
in my life, and I hope that people could see past my past.
Right.
And let me be that new creation I'm trying to be right now.
Right. And that's the key of all this is once you look at others, say not you but Christ, that's when the mindset changes. Yeah, Adam.
At one time we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view. How many of those men thought Christ was actually going to be a king?
Yeah, right.
Was actually going to throw out Rome. Was actually had in their head we're going to be on his left and right.
Mm-hmm.
He throws out Rome when we kick Pilate out, when we restored the temple, when we
Right.
do all of these things. And in that one sentence, put the 180 that they did when their king dies.
Right.
And is resurrected again, right? And so for all the things that all the expectations we put on people around us about how they're supposed to behave because they're a Christian, what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And think about the kind of abrupt change they
Yeah.
had to make when they realized the man they thought that was going to be their leader and their king died and was
Right.
resurrected. I think that's the same sort of idea
Absolutely.
we have for our peers and our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I was just going to say, we can take a lesson from Paul and all of
Yes.
in thinking how we look at each other, how that affects our attitudes, all of that. Philippians 1, starting in 15. Some indeed preach Christ from envy and rivalry, but others from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, but thinking
It doesn't matter what else is happening as long as Christ is being preached, right? Yeah.
Just the kind of the converse of what Adam's saying. You think of what Paul says, you no longer see Christ from a worldly perspective. Think of what his perspective of Christ was initially.
Yeah.
That he didn't believe. Paul is to me is kind of the guy that covers both sides of the spectrum. That he comes from the non-believer to an adamant non-believer to adamant believer, but he's also associated with those people like Adam mentioned, people who wanted Jesus to be this thing but wasn't.
Right.
So he has that greater perspective saying, let's just see Christ for who he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And therefore we see ourselves as Christ sees us.
Right. Absolutely. Your guys' comments are awesome, by the way. It really, really helps me, even as I'm constructing these thoughts continually in my head too. So I appreciate them. Yeah. So it's again, once we adopt the mindset we're supposed to be adopting, that's going to change how we view each other. And I want to finish off with this kind of main idea. Side note, really bugs me, now I'm going to bug all of you too, how both of those quotation marks are different, no matter how much I've tried to play with it. It just infuriated me more than I can even put into words. So, anyway, have fun with that one. Okay, so fellowship is essential to our lives as Christians, but it has to be real, meaningful fellowship. This makes our relationships with each other concrete and meaningful and real and deep. Again, I'm losing track of time. True fellowship helps us worry less about worldly expectations, and more about godly expectations. That true fellowship. Yeah, potlucks are fun, whatever, after service thing, but like true, genuine fellowship where we're getting into each other's hearts, that's going to create godly expectations. And I was going to define koinonia, but I think koinonia means fellowship in Greek. So that's what I'm getting at here. This is our final point. We then hold each other accountable by Christ's standards. Once we've established once we practice deep, meaningful, true fellowship, really getting into each other's lives, that's when, again, the mind shift changes, and we hold each other accountable. Let me finish with Colossians. We're not finished, but let me get to close this slide here with Colossians chapter 3. Can I actually have somebody take that really quick? We can do that. Colossians chapter 3, verses 11 through 12. Now I'm nervous that I wrote down the wrong thing. No, we're good. Second Colossians.
In Christ there is not Greek and Jew, circumcision and uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, slave and free, but Christ is all and in all. Therefore, as God's chosen ones, holy and dearly loved, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience.
Can you actually keep going to 15?
And forgiving one another. If anyone has a grievance against one another, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you are also to forgive. Above all, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity, and let the peace of Christ, to which you were also called in one body, rule your hearts and be thankful.
That is like a perfect description of what the church should be. That is the perfect description of what it means to look at somebody else and say, not you, but Christ. Yes, not me, but Christ. Not I, but Christ. But not you, but Christ. Yes.
It's what makes us better together.
Right. Absolutely. And like some of these things are so, like the first verse, chapter 11, is such a profound verse, but like the rest of that section is so practical. Like, make allowances for each other, for each other's faults. Forgive anyone who offends you. If you say my shirt is bad, might make me feel bad for a second, but whatever. Maybe they're having a rough day. Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna happen, right? It's gonna happen, and I just love how the rest of that. Yeah, I have 11 through 12, but once you started reading, I was like, actually keep going, because so much of the rest of that little passage is so applicable and so important when we're talking about this idea. If we don't, but the thing I also really want to finish on here is if we don't start viewing each other as Christ does, we will hold ourselves back as the church. If we continue and again, I'm not saying that we all are constantly doing this here. I'm saying we very generally. If we continue to let petty things get in the way, if we continue to, again, on one side of the spectrum, give people stati, that they maybe it's not as important to do, or on the inverse, we let stupid little things get in the way, we hold ourselves back. Instead, we need to be viewing each other as Christ does, not I but Christ, looking at me, but also looking at others, not you but Christ. Christ lives in you. We are fellow heirs to the kingdom, these things, okay? Any last questions, any last comments before I kind of conclude here?
Well, which means we risk putting people on pedestals, but we also can't, like Jeremy mentioned, this doesn't count as his comment, so we can't look at people as less because
Right.
of their past.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what the last slide, I didn't touch on this, I'm realizing, but I said it's a spectrum. You can't be looking too down on people because of their past, and inversely, you can't be holding these people up on this, ridiculous pedestal because of what they've accomplished. We are all just as sinful as each other, and we've all failed, but we all are redeemed because of what Christ has done for us, and that's the mindset we need to start adopting, okay? So just in conclusion, it's easy to get wrapped up in false and unimportant expectations on one end of the spectrum, but we need to adopt a Christ-centered mindset, the not I but Christ looking at me, not you but Christ looking at each other, and this mindset will transform how we see ourselves and others. Any last final comments or questions? Sweet, before it ended. Nice. All right, guys, well, thanks very much. That is all I got for you.